What's going on, guys? You're now watching the TNET podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Click on that bell for notifications. Today, we have an awesome guest. He used to play bass in the band 6 Feet Deep. He's a current tattoo artist in Charlotte. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Simmons. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just hanging out.
We
Looking
f- we
forward to
we
this.
finally got everything working as far as uh, the technical setup is concerned. We think.
Yeah. There was some technical issues.
There were some technical difficulties, yeah. But what's going on with you today, man?
Not much, man. Just enjoying my day off today from work, and like I said, looking forward to doing this podcast and talking some old hardcore
Yeah,
from
man.
Cleveland.
That's the best, man. It's nice to be able to kind of you know, dredge the depths and be able to um, reconnect with all these folks that are in hardcore and punk
Yeah.
rock, um so let's talk about you a little bit and your history. Like,
Okay.
you know, you started playing music in the Cleveland scene. Is that where you're from?
Yeah. A little town called Elyria, which is I don't know, probably 20 some miles um west of Cleveland. So yeah, I grew up there. Um, had some buddies that I skated with in Mansfield because my dad had moved there for work. He worked at General Motors and they closed the plant, so he moved down there. And I connected with some skaters that were musicians. I've never played an instrument up until that point, and we wanted to start like a little punk band. So I started playing bass with those guys. And fast forward to moving back home from Mansfield to Elyria, and we ended up starting ultimately what would be 6 Feet Deep, just out of a friend of ours was having a Christmas party, and we thought it'd be fun to do some covers. So we learned a bunch of cover songs, and from that, we got the idea to kind of start the band from there. So,
So wait, what kind of covers did you play? Because you guys were a hardcore band.
oh man, we I don't know if we had we might have had maybe one or two originals for that show, maybe one. I can't remember, but it was mostly like Ramones, and we had some Nirvana in there, and
Nice.
you know,
I thought you were gonna say like you were playing like Hatebreed or Terror or
none
some
of
shit
those
like that.
weren't even in existence.
Right, right. No, I hear you, man. That's cool. And so that eventually evolved into 6 Feet Deep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Our friend Sherry, God rest her soul, she had a Christmas party, and we set up in the garage, and I had like I borrowed a bass guitar from a buddy, and it was like he was in kind of like a glam metal band. So I just remember it had like this god awful airbrushing like sheriff badge and like American flag. I don't know. There's all kinds of like it was weird.
So you weren't naturally like a bass player. You had to kind of like teach yourself the ropes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, basically it was me practicing, and Mike Porter, who was our singer, guitarist, one of our guitarists, he would kind of show me the tablature for it. And just, from band practice, I would just kind of like figure out the songs and, what I needed to play from there. And yeah, it basically was self taught on during practice for the most part. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they were like, okay, we need a bass player. You're going to be the bass player. So that was kind of my trial by fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you guys were kind of, prolific within the Christian scene. Was that kind of like a response to, you had like a spiritual faith background and then you just wanted to play music, or was that something that it eventually evolved into?
That evolved into from the band. Like that kind of like I found that through actually at band practice
Oh,
is when it kind of spoke to me. And I was just kind of at a point in my life where I felt kind of lost spiritually, I guess, but I never really had any spiritual things going on at that point, being younger,
hmm.
and like I said, going through the band, like it just kind of through our message kind of hit me, you know,
Yeah.
through it.
And so wait, these guys were already like Christians, or?
Mike and Tom had grown up in going to, Christian schools, and, very, their background was, 100% that, ever since I knew them, family's definitely involved in the church, and, and that type of things. And that's where I learned about like the Crucified and Vengeance Rising and Tourniquet and you know
Remember all those bands, man.
all these bands that I was like, wow, there's like you can be a Christian and be in a band and make it sound cool. It doesn't have to sound like, some generic
Right.
run of the mill stuff.
Newsboys or
Yeah, like
DC
something
Talk or something. Yeah.
inspiring.
No, yeah, that stuff never spoke to me either
Yeah.
because it was like, my mother tried to kind of turn me on to Christian music, and I always dog her about this, but like she
Yeah.
played Audio Adrenaline's Big Big House, and I was like, nah.
Ain't gonna cut
I
it.
was like, nah. I was like, do you see the stuff I'm listening to? Come on,
Yeah.
So yeah, to be able to kind of like experience bands like that, No Innocent Victim, like,
Oh, love that band.
yeah,
Love that band.
yeah, that really
Unashamed, strong arm,
strong arm,
focused.
focal point, yeah,
Yeah, all that whole generation of bands was the tooth and nail era.
tooth and nail, man, yeah. Sean Jonas from Zayo came on the show. We were like
Okay.
reconnecting about all the old Tooth and Nail bands and stuff. And you guys were on like Rex Records, which is where
Yep.
Living Sacrifice started.
Yes.
So you guys were technically like label mates at the time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Did you ever play any shows with those guys?
We did. Yeah, we ran across each other through the days back in the day. Those guys were always super cool, like always willing to hang out and, just shoot the shit with, like really, really they were huge in the music scene at that point, like
This was before they were on
oh
Tooth and Nail
yeah.
too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, they were really, really cool. And Circle of Dust too was another one.
That was the like electronic band,
Yeah,
right? Like kind of
yeah,
industrial. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Clank, we were good friends with Clank.
Clank,
He
yeah.
later on filled in for me on bass.
Clank did?
Yeah.
No way.
He did a lot of shows.
He's an Ohio guy.
He was in Ohio
Oh,
at
okay.
that time. Yeah.
That's cool.
And
I think he still makes music, doesn't he?
yeah, as far as I know, yeah. Yeah, he's still doing something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But with like, Cleveland, like, you and I, we have a lot of mutual friends that are in
Mhm.
bands up there. And, was that something being like a Christian or like a religious band that people were kind of like, not really receptive to initially or
Oh yeah, there you would get some of that at shows, but I would say overall we always had like a good response because I think people could kind of, there's a message there, but they couldn't get past the music. Like they were totally
yeah,
into the tune,
right. Yeah.
so they might have gave us a pass, I guess, like
Some of those bands get a pass, like
yeah,
Beloved, that was one, like we had all these like anti-religious like PC kids, but like
yeah,
Beloved, Advent, like those guys, they're so revered within that scene that yeah, they definitely get a pass for like having, faith-based lyrics or whatever,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. So
yeah.
it was cool, and we started playing like Grand Rapids, Michigan. We found there was like this club called the Ice Pick, and it was like this little hole in the wall club. I mean, graffiti everywhere, filthiest, dirtiest place you could ever imagine.
A club like the Ice Pick, who'd have thunk that?
Their big claim to fame was Gigi Allen played there
Oh,
a bunch of times. So
probably the only one who could play there too.
yeah, yeah.
Fucking nasty
So
venues, man. I'm
we
not a
had
fan.
we had a really good we built like a good rapport there in that scene in Grand. So we played Grand Rapids a lot. Um, yeah, it was awesome.
And you were just showing me like all these flyers of like
Mhm.
where you had applied for Cornerstone, and like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
also showed me how they had and we can put some of these like in the actual actually like all right, now you got to tell the story of this right here because this kind of blew my
Okay, this
mind.
is the famous shovel that we used in our logo for the cross shovels for the X and 6 feet deep. Unbeknownst to anybody, this was our drummer Tom's pooper scooper
That's
that they
glorious.
used, but it turned out it worked pretty good.
I mean, it looks like a real shovel,
Yeah,
so who
it's a
gives a
real
shit?
shovel.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where they came from.
Yeah, there's a lot of like good stuff in here. A bunch of
Yeah, we got like some screens from some T-shirts in there,
yeah,
and
that's so cool, man. This is like a treasure trove of good stuff. I never saved any of my my band stuff because I don't know, was never really proud of a lot of the bands I was in. So
I gotcha.
yeah, that's
I
cool,
just
man.
figured it'd be cool to hang on to it for stuff like this, you know.
Yeah, and you guys, uh, you had a good run. You had a good,
Yeah.
like I was actually looking at the chronology of everything, and it was like 91 to 97, and
Yeah.
you were with the band for most of the period
Most of
from.
that time. The second album, I was going through a divorce, so I kind of like stepped down from the band during that period, and that's when they were recording The Road Less Traveled, which I the only part on that recording I did like there's like a hidden track on there, and it's just like feedback from a bass guitar just kind of waving in and out, and
Yeah,
I did that in the studio real quick. But Mike Porter did the bass on the second album. I did all the practice stuff, so I knew the album. I just, like I said, I didn't do the recording.
you weren't involved. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and what, like, I guess what was kind of the reason for like the dissolution of the band? Like you guys just kind of, I mean, I know the other guys play in Branson now. Was that kind of like the
I think I think it was from Mike was kind of over like screaming his head off, honestly, and he wanted to do something different musically than we were. I was wanting to go more hardcore. Me and Tom were, and Mike was basically like, I don't really write like that, and I think he just had a vision to do something else, and it kind of was a good time to break the band up, I guess,
yeah,
if it was ever gonna happen,
right,
you know.
yeah,
Me, like I said, I went through a bad divorce, and Mike Schaefer, the other guitar player, he was going through it at the same time I was.
oh
So it was like double whammy,
yeah,
and Mike was able to keep playing. My head was not in it. I was like the last thing I wanted to do, at the time.
I hear you, man.
Um, but yeah,
So what was like the response around the country? Did you have, you said Grand Rapids you really
hmm
like playing in,
yeah.
like were there any other spots where you guys were particularly like really fond of, or were there any spots where they didn't take to you too well, like where
We never really had. I don't really think we ever had like a negative crowd response, anything like that. Like I think we always had like decent turnouts.
yeah.
We might have played some shows where there's only 30 people or something.
Oh, when I mean negative, like, how we were talking about earlier, like in Cleveland, where you know you weren't sure how people were kind of like going to receive you because of the message or
Yeah.
whatever.
I don't really remember anything like that, honestly.
Okay.
There was no real negative stuff happening at a show. There might have been some fights here or there, but not anything that we had anything to do with.
You were just there.
We were just there, and it was just a hardcore show.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
usually what happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like thematically, like, obviously there's, the spiritual influences there, but like musically and like sonically, like what were you guys influenced by at the time, aside from like, you mentioned like the Christian acts and stuff like that?
I would say definitely a huge Biohazard influence.
Okay.
I would definitely put them in there. Crucified was like one of our favorite bands. Um, Crash Dog,
Crash Dog. Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that band.
man. Spike from Crash Dog. Those guys were a heavy influence on us. Um, but yeah, just growing up, listening to punk and Agnostic Front, and we kind of threw that.
Did you guys ever go to Europe?
That's one of my biggest regrets. We had a chance to do that near the end of our our run. We had new management. It seemed like REX Records was kind of getting back on their feet, and there was talks about sending us to Europe, but it never came out because they ended up going bankrupt, and we broke up on top of that. So it was just
Was that you broke up as a result of them going bankrupt, or
no, it was going to happen regardless.
just because of the
Whether
whole
yeah,
Mike
just
situation?
well, I don't want to blame Mike totally, but just that time period in the band, we were just kind of ready to.
hang it up.
graduates. Yeah,
And you never did anything after that, did you?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did.
yeah. I did a band called Crossface,
Okay.
which is a Cleveland hardcore band. Actually went up a few months ago, and they did their 25th reunion
Oh wow.
show, which was a great turnout.
Did you play in it or you just watched the show?
I could have played, but I'd be so stressed out trying to learn the music and again and
Yeah.
worried about playing and not screwing up, and I
Sure.
would put too much pressure on myself to really enjoy it. So I was like, I'll come up and sing some backups. So that's what I did.
There you go, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's always nice. And as far as um, what you kind of do now, like what, you're a tattoo artist. Like how long have you been engaged in that?
I started tattooing right around the road less traveled time period. So I've been tattooing about 33 years roughly.
Oh wow.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of when I started, and I kind of put all my eggs in that basket at that time, and I just ended up getting an apprenticeship with Rodney Rose, who was he's a legendary tattooer out of Cleveland. He's my mentor, phenomenal tattooer, and I owe him everything. Like he gave me a career, a trade, something that's taken me. I've tattooed in Italy twice, um, all over the United States, and it's been a pretty cool.
Italy.
Yeah, Italy was amazing.
Who were you tattooing in Italy? Was it somebody?
We did a convention in Florence. I went with my buddy Josh, Joshua David, who he passed away a few years ago. Um, God rest his soul. Me and him, and we went there and tattooed. We brought our wives with us, so we kind of turned it into like a
A vacation.
working vacation.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
That's what Adam Sandler does with all his movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart. It's
he,
smart.
he gets a cruise ship, or like, yeah, they go on a cruise or whatever, and they're like, hey, let's film a movie about this, and then just write it off on our taxes,
That's amazing. Yeah,
So that's cool, man.
yeah, yeah,
And you are you've kept pretty busy with that from what I understand.
yeah,
And
yeah.
one thing I'm looking at here, and we can see some of it is you're into a bunch of wrestling
Oh, pro wrestling.
memorabilia. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, moving down here from Ohio to North Carolina, this is like a hotbed of pro wrestling.
Ric
And
Flair.
there's like all kinds of like wrestling conventions and stuff and like local shows. So I started dipping my toes back into that, and I realized like that's a big part of my life that I've been kind of like had skipped over, kind of a relapsed fan, I guess.
Right.
And I realized that there's a lot of guys my age that are getting back into it and rehashing those old memories and the nostalgia of it. So one of my birthdays, I saw Ric Flair was coming to town, and I'm like, I want to get a picture with him and get an
He
autograph.
lives in Charlotte, doesn't he?
He did at
Or he
at
did.
that
Yeah.
time, yeah. So I bought a figure off of eBay, and I'm like, I'll go get this signed and I'll just hang on to it, a keepsake. Well, that one figure turned into, if you look around my room, probably 1,000 figures.
We'll get some stills and put them here in the video.
So,
It's
yeah,
it's a
so
really impressive collection, folks. It's
it went from collecting them to doing like customs of my own, like guys that you would never see a figure made of,
really
like Manny Fernandez, uh, Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant. I made a custom of him, like the Midnight Express, like so. Yeah, there's
nice.
like a whole underground of guys like me that like customize wrestling figures.
That is crazy, man. Like that. This is so like this is such a good collection. My buddy's like the same way with Star Wars. Like he's
Oh
got like
yeah, yeah,
wall to wall like
same
Star
deal.
Wars shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah.
And all right. I mean, I have to ask. I mean, I know, like, I mean, they call it WWE now. But when we were growing up, it was WWF,
WWF. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, like, who's the goat as far as like wrestling federations? And NWO, ECW, like WCW back in the day.
Man, for me, and I'm going to be biased on this, it would be the National Wrestling Alliance (NWA). Probably mid '80s was probably my favorite, just because it wasn't the flashy like WWF. They didn't have like gimmick, like they didn't have like garbage men and like like policeman and
Right.
fireman. Like they
The
didn't have these.
Mountie.
Yeah, they didn't have all these cheesy
I liked the
gimmicks.
Mountie though.
These guys were like, like Arn Anderson and like Ole Anderson. They just look like dudes that were.
Just
They're like
mean ass dudes.
24-year-old dudes, but they look like they're 50. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And that's the thing with a lot of that culture is that, it kind of ages you real fast. I mean, you're just so like you're so physically engaged
Oh my
and like
goodness, yes.
they just sustain so much injury. And then who was it that died a few years ago? That was
There's a laundry list of
well,
guys.
yeah, he was a Hispanic guy and he was like a real bad alcoholic. They did like a documentary on him.
Eddie Guerrero.
Andy Guerrero,
Yeah,
that's who it
yeah,
was. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, like they always
yeah.
seem to meet with like this like tragic fate almost, you
Yeah,
know?
man, it's like they break their bodies for our entertainment, and obviously with age comes the pain, the aches and the pains, and they start drinking, popping pills to deal with that. And next thing you know, it snowballs
Yeah.
into
It's just over at that
major
point.
addiction, and
Yeah.
then it's just too late. Yeah,
It's like that movie The Wrestler. Did you see The
yeah,
Wrestler?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean it's
yeah. It's the same deal.
yeah,
Same deal. It's sad.
it's crazy. NWA, okay. You remember when Insane Clown Posse
Oh,
wrestled for ECW?
oh, they wrestled for WCW. Yeah.
Well, they started at ECW and I think you're right. They
They
did.
were in WCW. They
Yeah.
wrestled with Vampiro, and I remember the Misfits came in too. They were involved, and then we had the
Donald
guy.
Trump.
We had Kiss. They had a guy dressed like Kiss,
Oh wow.
like Gene Simmons. Yeah, he
Wow.
got like licensed to do that, which I imagine that wasn't cheap.
No, probably not. That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Insane Clown Posse. That's that I remember somebody told me they were like, "Oh, they wrestle." And I'm like, "What?"
yeah. I
That's-
saw him a few months ago at WrestleCade in Winston Salem.
oh, which one?
Violent
Violent J?
J.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they both were there.
It's sad that I know their names, but
Well, no territory.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and like wrestling, I was never like that connected with it. I always kind of knew like based on osmosis and like based on friends and stuff, but I
Yeah.
never actually got around to like have you ever been to a WrestleMania?
I've never been to WrestleMania, but I plan on going to next year's.
Oh, where
It's
is it?
it's in Vegas, I believe.
Vegas.
Yeah, so
Dude.
me and some buddies are we're gonna get tickets and go and do like the whole, because not only can you go to WrestleMania, but all the independent federations will run shows like that whole week.
Oh, wow.
So you can go to like independent, like Game Changer Wrestling will have like 3 or 4 shows. AEW might run a show, or like any independent feds they'll just run.
So what else do you do to stay busy besides like collecting wrestling figures and tattooing and
I got big into doing CrossFit,
oh, nice.
so that's probably my main, if you want to call it a hobby. Something I really look forward to doing. I
Yeah.
go like 4 days a week.
Throwing kettlebells and stuff.
Kettlebells, barbells, weights. Yeah, yeah, I got into that. I do that, and like I said, customizing the figures, and just I run an Instagram account called Mid Atlantic Customs
Nice.
that I do like a lot of like figure photography, like recreating like legendary matches and stuff like that. I'll do like photo stills from that, and just doing graphics for that,
Awesome.
things of that nature.
Do you think there will ever be a 6 feet deep reunion?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, I don't think so. We kind of talked about it uh, years ago, but just logistically, I don't know if it would ever happen. To be honest
Everybody's
with
in
you.
different parts of the country now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, it would be cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be open to it.
Well,
You know.
when I was first discovering, hardcore music, which, my kind of in was through the Christian scene, like
Yeah. Okay.
we
Cool.
definitely rocked you guys' albums like pretty
Cool.
frequently. Like my buddy who is currently a pastor, like he was like, "Oh, have you ever heard of 6 feet deep?" I'm like, and I'm thinking 6 feet under,
Yes.
like
Yes.
I'm like, they're a
We were first.
Christian.
We were first.
Were you guys first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think they named themselves in response to they wanted the name 6 feet deep, but
I think
couldn't
it
get
was
it?
probably just
Just
like another
coincidence?
coincidence,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Did they ever hear about you guys or like?
I would think so, just by being similarly named.
Right, and
Yeah,
a similar kind of like genre
yeah,
of music. Yeah.
they probably caught wind of us. I mean, like we heard of them, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
That was confusing, because it was like, you know, that back then you wanted to like you wanted to hear Christian bands, and
yeah.
like you didn't want to like be misled or anything like that, So yeah, it was always just funny like that how closely related that was.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. What, dude, this is one thing I always ask people on the show too is like, there's a lot of like crazy stuff that's going on in the world right now. And like, what are your thoughts on like the future and like where do you see us like going as like as a society and like the world?
Oh my God. Man, all I gotta say is I hope it turns around from the direction that it's headed right now. Yeah, I don't know. We need to get back to people being able to express their feelings and their viewpoints and not get ostracized and canceled for having an opinion
Right.
different from somebody else. We as an American, you should have the right to have your own opinion. I may not agree with your opinion, you may not agree with mine, but we should be able to end of the day shake hands and be cordial with one another.
Exactly. And like the hardcore scene, there's such a like kind of a vast like array of different beliefs, different ideologies, different religions, what have you, and so, let's just get along and listen to good music.
Yeah,
Like who
that's what it's
cares?
about,
But then
you
you've
know?
got you've got, and like you said, like the whole cancellation thing, like people can be, you have to understand like when you put your beliefs and your thoughts out there that you are going to be subject to criticism,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so but the whole cancellation thing like you said where it's like, oh yeah, somebody doesn't agree with this policy or somebody thinks they should enact that policy, it doesn't give you the right to like go and like go to their business and like destroy
No,
their livelihood and
no,
stuff like that,
yeah.
like if your ideas are that great you wouldn't have to do that,
Right,
you know
right, yeah. Yeah, the current climate in the America is bizarre, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think you'd ever want to live anywhere else?
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to live in Italy, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I loved Italy.
Wow.
Beautiful, beautiful country. The food's amazing. The people are so nice.
And
Uh,
aside from the tattoos, how long were you there?
um, I think the first trip we were there for like 2 weeks, and our second time we went to Rome, and I tattooed at the Rome convention, and I was in the Rumblers Car Club too. So we had like a big car show there.
Oh,
So being an active member at the time, I flew out, hung out with all those guys. Like the funny thing is, like the German chapter of guys and the Italian chapter, and people from the U.S. we would meet together. Our common language was English
okay.
because all those guys, they can speak more than one language,
Right.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
I can hardly speak English.
Well, in our defense, and I've always explained this to European people, it's like you are neighboring so many different countries
Yeah,
with
they
so many different
so
languages,
much culture
so much culture,
that they have
and
easy access to.
they're also, I mean, yeah, we were required to take like two like high school credits of language or whatever,
Yeah.
but that's not the same. Like
No.
they study English like their entire lives, at
Yeah.
least English.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a roommate that was like he could speak three or four different languages fluently.
To me that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, he grew up in it. Like
Mm.
he was German and knew Italian, Spanish,
Yeah,
French, all this
yeah,
stuff. I'm like, I hate you.
yeah.
I hate you.
I would love to know how to speak
That's
it.
why you have a hot girlfriend. It's because you're
Yeah.
slick and suave, and
Yep,
you
yep,
know all
yep.
this languages and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
I no Italy. That's always kind of been on a bucket list of mine too.
Like I was saying, Rome, we were there like 10 days maybe. So
Oh, okay.
so I did the convention, and then we did the Cinque Terres, which are like the five cities on or towns on the Mediterranean. And they're five, they're all linked together, so you could kind of like take a train to each one, and we just kind of went and exploring.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And you know, that's something that I think a lot of people have always kind of like wanted to do like as a band, like
Oh
they
yeah,
they want to go and just go all over the place and
yeah.
what have you. What do you like about this area? Like, I mean, you've been here for a period,
I've
so
been here like 13 years. I grew up coming in this area because I had family. My aunt and uncle and my cousins were all here, so we would always come down like summer vacations, and we would be kind of in the Huntersville, Charlotte area, Matthews. So I was familiar with it, and I always wanted to move down here. And through tattooing, I was like, I went and did a guest spot in South Carolina at a shop, and I was like, the more I was out traveling, I was like, man, I could do this anywhere I want, you
exactly.
know. And I remember one winter in Ohio, I was shoveling the driveway.
With the pooper scooper.
Yeah, no, that's only for poop.
Okay.
I had a snow shovel,
Okay.
and I was like, you know what? I think this is my last year of shoveling snow in Ohio. I'm like, I want to move to North Carolina. And I had a friend, we were going to open a shop together, but that's a whole nother story I don't want to get into. But it ended up not working out with him. And I was like, well, I can't move back now because I sold my house.
Right.
Uh, I got bought out of my business because I was part owners of a tattoo shop up there called Classic Tattoo. And I just was like, yeah, we're going to make it happen. So I got into a shop in Mooresville, Lucky 13,
Lucky 13,
Rob
yeah.
Daudet.
That was
Rob's awesome.
that was the guy that used to run Anything's Possible, right? Or no.
No, he didn't.
They ran it, that was the shop that they ran it in, right?
No, he was anything's possible was more. They were downtown. Rob is more. He's right next to the Gold's Gym in Mooresville on 150 there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I thought they were downtown.
oh, we were cool with those guys.
Oh,
Anything's
okay.
possible. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they
Um,
started doing tats, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They do tattoos out of there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I worked there for like 3 years, and I ended up getting a job at 510 Expert Tattoo in Charlotte, and I've been there probably 10 years. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's dope, man.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Do you still listen to hardcore?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah. Still, I had like a period where I did the rockabilly retirement. I bought a classic car.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I restored the car. I had a '53 Buick. Um, and then I got into car club scene. I was in a club in Cleveland called the Choppers that my good friend Chris Adams was in. Unfortunately, he's passed. He had a '49 Ford, light blue with like seaweed flames on it. Most coolest car ever. Like his mom and dad have it now.
Nice.
Um, but I was like, man, I want to get into that club. So eventually I got my car, worked on it, got it on the road, got into the club. And then Chris and I started going to Rumbler shows in New York City.
Hmm.
And we became friends with Roger from Agnostic Front
Oh,
and
wow.
all those guys. Willie G, shout out. Um, so yeah, we ended up getting the idea of maybe we should do like a Cleveland chapter
Okay.
of the Rumblers, and Roger gave his blessing to us.
Really?
So we ended up doing a full chapter.
So that's his, like he
Yeah,
started that club?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
He's like the head El Jefe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Roger, you're
yeah,
invited on this show. I've reached out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love to have you.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, Roger and Stigma.
Oh,
I've met them a
Vinny's
few times,
great,
and
man.
they're
Great
great too.
people. That whole Rumblers, they have nothing but love for me, man. They're so cool.
So you still listen to hardcore, but the rockabilly
Yeah,
retirement. I
yeah.
love how you said that because it's like there's kind of different life paths that people in hardcore, like when they're, I don't want to say they're segging out of hardcore, but like they're getting older,
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah,
That's one of them.
yeah.
Doing the fucking craft beer like thing where
Oh yeah,
this-
100%.
where the flannel and like yeah, and then just like go to microbreweries and listen to fucking Mumford and
Oh,
Sons and
cool
shit like
mustache.
yeah, yeah. Grow a little handlebar mustache.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna ride into my unicycle,
Yeah.
shit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got into that for a while, and like, but I still listen to old school country.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, my love for hardcore never really. It never died. It may have been on the back burner for a few years, but it never died out.
Do you like any of like the newer bands? Any of the new blood that's
Oh
getting
yeah,
going?
there's a ton of new bands that I've kind of fallen in love with. Conservative Military Image.
I've heard about them. They're kind
They're
of like Oi though, aren't they?
yeah, which I've never been into Oi music, but they were kind of like my gateway drug
Okay.
into Oi. So now I'm listening to like Oi bands, like
Okay.
Violent Way and trying to remember some other ones I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, it's kind of opened up a door to that, and I've been enjoying it.
I got real into like, a lot of the like because I never grew up with a lot of the like classic punk bands like
Yeah,
70s like that was before my time, so
right.
it took me a little bit later to connect to it. But then when it's like you listen to like the Dead Boys and like
Yeah,
English Dogs and shit like that, you're like, man, this shit is
yeah,
fucking the Damned and all that shit, like
yeah.
this shit rules.
Like I never thought I was into the Damned until I seen them. They did a show with, I want to say it was in Pittsburgh, and they played with Agnostic Front,
Oh wow,
and the Dickies might have played. There were some other bands on there, but I was like, the Damned was fucking
they're
awesome, man.
amazing, like they're so
Yeah.
tight and like their
Oh my
music is
gosh,
like.
it was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. Like what are uh what's some other music you like? You said old country and then like
Yeah, just growing up in like the 70s, my dad was really big into country music. So those stars of that time, like Sundays, he, you know, played vinyl on the gigantic stereo in the
Jerry
living room.
Reed?
Jerry Reed,
Yeah.
George Jones, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings. I mean, a laundry list of like legends.
The outlaw stuff, the
The
good
Outlaw,
stuff.
Johnny
Yeah.
Paycheck, Dolly Parton, that whole generation.
Yeah.
Legends now.
Yeah.
Tanya
Yeah.
Tucker, you know,
Yeah.
Tammy Wynette,
And you know what? Like
Loretta Lynn.
I heard a country song the other day where they were the lyric was blatantly like, I can't stand this hip hop and country. Like,
Yeah.
and I think Chubbs and I even had a discussion where it was like, yeah, country like sucks now.
Oh, it's
Like
horrible.
it's like the
Horrible.
poppiest garbage.
It's not even. I don't even really consider it country. Yeah,
No,
it's like it's a hybrid of pop and country, I
right.
guess.
It's something that that Dr. Luke guy, you know who that guy is? He produced all the pop bands like.
I have no idea who
Oh,
that
well,
is.
okay. So
Yeah.
there was this guy that was a producer. He was like a producer for Kesha and like all these other people, and like I don't know, guess turned out to be kind of a creeper or whatever. But
Emo.
like made all these like prolific pop acts, and probably
Okay.
I don't know, like that just seems to be what they're doing. Like they're taking country and they're kind of taking the organic.
Yeah, they're packaging it up and putting it out as a product.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's frustrating. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy. But we were talking about hardcore bands though, conservative military image, and then
I like Hatebreed.
still kicking.
Frank Novinec, Three Gun. It's my dude. He plays guitar. He's awesome. He's from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Terror. I like Terror a lot. I like Danny Diablo and Hoya's new project,
Smoke AD.
Smoke AD.
What's up, guys?
Great stuff. I've been listening to that pretty much nonstop since
Yeah,
I got that on vinyl. Like Marauder, and been on a huge Cold as Life kick.
dude.
I love Cold as Life.
Cold as Life. That's a band that I slept on for like a long time,
Hmm.
and then I finally like, Cold as Life and Biohazard
Oh
specifically.
yeah, both.
And then finally got to like, finally gave those guys a good listen,
Yeah.
and I was like, fuck, I was missing out.
Yeah,
Like,
dude. Yeah.
yeah. Didn't they play This Is Hardcore this year? But like with a different vocalist?
I want to say the original. I don't know. He's not the original, but the second guy after the one was
Passed away.
passed away.
Yeah.
Jeff is his name. I think
Okay.
Jeff is back singing with them.
Okay.
But yeah, my second band, Crossface, we played a show with them in Lakewood, Ohio, like a long time ago
Okay.
when they had just Born to Land Hard was just coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you this too. Like, as far as did you have any crazy like tour stories with 6 Feet Deep?
Not really. Nothing like. No, not nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Honestly.
Okay.
Maybe just like when we went on our first tour, I remember going. We were in like El Paso, Texas, or something, and there was like this dude, this Mexican guy in this lowrider, and I remember Trax, our guitar player, was like losing his mind. He's like hit the switches, and a dude like hit his switches and was like bouncing it up in the parking lot.
Oh
It was
shit.
just fucking awesome. But yeah, we had so much fun on tour. It was kind of like our first like legit tour where we drove straight to New Mexico, played our first show there, and then we like went to the West Coast and did some shows around Orange County and traveled all the way back to the East Coast down to Florida.
Oh wow.
Played our last show, I think, in like Fort Lauderdale, and then we drove back home straight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a pretty fun tour.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So who's this little guy right here?
This is Luca. He's a French bulldog. Super energetic, as you can tell.
He's just chilling right now. What'd you smoke? What'd you smoke, buddy?
He's got to get his 18-hour nap a day, or he just can't function.
Oh man. Must be so tough being you, buddy. Must be so tough. Now you're shedding on me.
Yeah, he's shedding on me.
You're shedding.
Oh,
It's crazy.
some belly rubs.
Oh, you need the belly rubs, and he's got the little thing here. So
Peanuts.
what do as far as doing like tattoo work and stuff like that, like where do you see yourself kind of in 5 years? This sounds like a job interview, but like
Close to retirement?
yeah?
Yeah.
Is that your plan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Hopefully by I'm 61. Hopefully.
I still can't believe you're like mid
Can
50s.
hang it
Like,
up. Yeah, 54.
dude.
Not too far away.
It must be like again, like I think there's like youthfulness in hardcore. Like there's some
Yeah.
sort of like hidden fountain of youth in that to where it's like,
Dude, skateboarding. Like I grew up skateboarding, like hardcore punk rock hardcore. Even being in like the pro wrestling scene around here, it's just like people just have like a youthful
energy.
energy about it.
And even appearance too,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, I think to me, like being able to kind of stay connected with that, because I had a discussion with somebody the other day, and it was the most absurd shit because it was like they were trying to say that hardcore was affiliated with like drugs and stuff like that, and I'm like, well,
Not really.
yeah, I mean it's there. There's people
But
that do drugs, but
Yeah.
they don't. Even bands that do drugs in hardcore don't really glorify it.
No.
Like
Not at all.
they it's just kind of their thing, and then they just like sing about strength and unity, and then
Yeah. Brotherhood, strength, unity.
they'll go shoot up.
You stabbed me in the back. Now I got to get revenge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I thought you were my true friend.
But yeah, it was kind of an absurd statement, and
Yeah.
I chalk that up to this person's ignorance of the hardcore scene, like not really knowing what it was
Yeah.
about.
What they thought was a hardcore scene might have been something a little different.
People mix
Yeah.
up the hardcore scene with like goth all the time.
I don't understand.
I don't either,
Yeah.
because it's like you show them a picture of like, okay, here's Jamie Josta from Hatebreed, and here's Robert Smith from the fucking Cure. You tell me like,
What do you see that's different?
yeah, well, is there something different? It's a little different. Robert Smith, makeup, weird fucking clothes, hair and shit. Not to say that, I love The Cure. I like all
Yeah.
that like goth,
Yeah.
dark wave stuff, but that's
Yeah.
not what hardcore is about.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Crazy. And this guy, he's so happy. He's so happy. He's so good. So you want to retire, and do you think you'll just tattoo just for the sake of tattooing? Just
I don't think so. Honestly.
no.
No. I mean I say that, but I mean maybe. Maybe it would have to be like the right circumstances, I guess, to do it.
Right.
But yeah, once I retire, man, I just plan on retiring. I might do something different with my artwork. Like I said, I've been getting into photography and stuff like that.
cool.
So maybe do something along those lines. I started doing some toy conventions, kind of using that my hobby of collecting as a outlet to do that.
Nice. Nice.
I don't know. We'll see.
Have you ever met any like of the, like, celebrities at the toy conventions? Because a lot of them go to like those, like, conventions where it's like, okay, here's Jamie Josta from Hatebreed, and here's Robert Smith from the fucking Cure. You tell me like, you know, I love The Cure. I like all that like goth, dark wave stuff, but that's not what hardcore is about. the comic. Well, I guess it's not really a Comic Con, but kind of a similar.
As far as the wrestlers go, I've met a ton of pro wrestlers, like guys that I grew up watching on TV.
Is Ricky the Steamboat Dragon still alive?
Yes.
And he
Yeah.
lives in this area, doesn't he? Or he did?
Right there's his autograph
Oh, whoa!
card.
Look at that.
He actually he used to live in Mooresville, but
Yeah.
now he might be in like Tennessee now or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he moved out of state somewhere.
Yeah, he. People used to say they saw him like all the time in Mooresville and stuff, and
Yeah, my cousins, back in the '80s when I would come and visit him on summer vacation, they'd be like, "Dude, we just saw Ric Flair,
yeah,
we saw, Ricky Steamboat or whoever, Tully Blanchard was at the car dealer,
it's
like
crazy.
we saw Dusty Rhodes the other day." They would just see him all the time.
Yeah, a lot of people ended up putting down roots here, like as
Yeah,
far as like
yeah,
wrestlers. Also, Ricky Rackman,
yeah.
he's in Mooresville.
I saw him at a wrestling event actually a few months ago.
No way.
Yeah,
That's wild.
him and his wife or girlfriend or whatever had ringside seats.
It's all
Yeah,
like, to low taxes. Well, not low as Florida, but lower than,
yeah,
California, New York, something
yeah.
like that. So, um, yeah, probably. And I don't know, like, are there any wrestling federations out here? There's got to be, like, some independent
There's
ones,
some
right?
local ones. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. One of the PWX was the big one, but they folded. But my buddy Bubba Amick Promotions, he started running shows around this area, so he's got a pretty good thing going.
Okay.
Yeah, so I try and support him as much as I can.
Did you ever wrestle, or did you ever?
No,
No.
just backyard.
Oh, just
Yeah, just backyard.
That's cool, man.
Till we killed the grass in my dad's yard, and then
Killed
we
the
got
grass.
yeah. Then the federation died.
Oh, just from like
From
moving
getting
around
slammed
so
on it.
much?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like, you
yeah.
guys are tearing up my grass. You gotta go.
We're
So
putting you
the
out of commission.
so the NWA, the Neighborhood Wrestling Alliance, shout out to Trombetta,
The the neighborhood.
John Dixon.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
wish we used to record our shows on Betamax. I wish we still had the video cassettes with those because that would be so embarrassing to see right now.
That was a thing. Who was that guy that was years ago? He was a black guy. He was doing all the backyard wrestling, and then he went into MMA and got his ass whooped. Who was that?
Oh, I have no idea
You
who
remember who that was, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay, he was like
MMA guy?
he was like a backyard wrestling sensation.
Hmm.
Don't remember what his name was, but he was like a big thing for a time, and
Okay.
then he actually segged into professional like wrestling and just never, or professional fighting rather, and just never made anything of
Okay.
himself. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't think of who that could be.
yeah. We'll figure it out
Yeah.
eventually, but
Have to Google it.
yeah, the wrestling, that's that's something, like I said, I've always like had a passing interest in, like, I see your Rowdy Piper
Yeah.
prints up there, and
Yeah.
I like seeing wrestlers in movies, like They Live, and
Oh,
like,
that's a great movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's great. But well, any parting words for us? Any advice, or people that are kind of like, maybe coming up in the hardcore scene, or just life advice in general? You got any?
I don't have any, but I'd like somebody to give me some.
Don't blame you there. I don't blame you there. 41 years of this, and still trying
I'm
to go in the right
54, still
direction.
trying to figure it out. So
I think it just never ends, man. It
yeah,
just must be like a ongoing process or
yeah.
something,
It's like
so
it's like levels to a video game, I think.
it's almost like, did you ever play RPGs?
Oh yeah, like Dungeons and Dragons.
It's like you're leveling up your
Yeah,
character, like
yeah,
and like, you can, like, you die and like you lose experience, or you get
yeah,
wounded, and like,
yeah.
you're always trying to like learn new skills and stuff, and
Hundred
get
percent,
better at other things and stuff,
100%.
so
That's what life's all about, man.
don't be an NPC. Get in the game,
Yeah,
level up,
yeah.
do it.
That's solid advice right there.
Just off
Get
the
in the
top of
game,
my
kids,
head.
and level up.
get in the game. Wasn't that like a Sega
Yeah,
thing? Yeah, or something.
it's in the game.
It's in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, dude, man, I appreciate you so much for doing this, and
Thank you
thank
for
you
having me.
for
I appreciate the call.
yeah, and thank you for being patient. Well, hey, folks, this is still a one-man operation, so if you'd like to assist me, the pay is low and the work is slow, but you'll love it,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah, dude, I appreciate you, and yeah, man, I'm gonna get you some shirts and all that stuff, and
I appreciate
yeah,
that.
man, we gotta go catch some shows sometime, man, because I saw
sure,
you
man.
at that Fury of Five show.
Yeah. I was
I
surprised
was
to
so
see you
happy to
there.
see you. Well, yeah, and
Yeah, I was walking. I was like, oh shit, I know him.
there was the OLC shirt that you had that
Yeah.
we ended up me and
Big hit that
Justin
night.
design.
Fury of Five love that sweatshirt.
Did they?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
you had the actual sweatshirt, didn't you? Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They
Yeah.
loved it. They loved it.
And those dudes are awesome too, So
They were singing lyrics and doing the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, cool, brother. Again, Matt Simmons, I appreciate you being here. And
Brother.
if you're tuning in, like, comment, share, subscribe, click on that bell for notifications.